Promotional consideration paid for by the following. Kona Ice. Kona Ice is a shaved ice truck that brings a one-of-a-kind tropical experience to you. Guests can flavor their own Kona Ice on our signature flavor wave, dance to our island music tunes, and enjoy a nutritious and delicious treat. Contact Jeremy and Marissa at 352-403-0515. Don't forget to follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Pat's Taps at Catfish Johnny's. Pat's Taps is Lake Penosauke's newest tap room, offering 14 rotating craft beers on tap. We also offer bottled domestic beers, seltzers, ciders, and wine, as well as a variety of appetizers and pub. Our family-friendly tap room is a great place to come hang out and enjoy some one-of-a-kind craft beer. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or the Untapped app. Is the exterior of your home or business covered in dirt, mildew, or mold? Driveway or walkway stained? Pressure King can make your siding, deck, vents, and concrete look new again with no damage. Pressure King has cleaned the exterior of houses and businesses all over Sumter County area. Usually it takes less than a day and costs less than you would expect. Call AJ at 352-457-7209. All right. Welcome back to the Goblay Show. I'm your host, Billy Goble. And hey, guys, we're on vacation now. So today's special guests are none other than the other Gobles of the family. I have my brother, James Goble, and my father, Gregory William Goble. So without further ado, guys, welcome to the Goblay Show.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's go.
So how's it going so far? Pretty good?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good vacation.
Vacation's good.
Yeah, been nice.
Been nice. Got a little get away for a little while.
Yep.
Dad, vacation's good?
Absolutely. I love every second of it.
Well, you've been on vacation for about 8 years now?
Pretty close to it, yeah.
Well, he's retired, folks. He, as you can't tell, he's living the life of Riley and does whatever he wants.
I really don't care what people think. How about that?
All right. Well,
get used to this, because this is what you're going to get for the next hour.
This is wild and uncut. This is my father, guys. This is where I get this from. But anyways, guys, I'm going to bring you on here and just to give everybody else a glimpse. We had our other special guests. Some of them played sports, and a majority of them all played the sports at South Sumter High. And we just want to kind of get a glimpse of what it was like to play for the program. My father has played in the previous years. This is pre-Coach Sherman, and my brother played for Coach Sherman. So let's start with Dad, since we'll go age before beauty, right?
Whatever.
Dad, so tell us a little bit how you got to Sumter County.
Well, in the early 60s, my dad worked for a company called Robbins Manufacturing Company in Tampa. And he built their first truss plant for them. And the owner was so impressed with my dad's performance that he purchased some land up in Sumter County. And he asked my father to go up there and build a sawmill for the company. So in 1963, my dad drove back and forth from Tampa to Terrytown, Florida, and he built a sawmill up there for them, all electric. That was a thing. It was all electric. Nothing was powered by nothing but electricity. So that was the most modern sawmill in the state of Florida at that time. And so my dad completed the mill, and Mr. Robbins says, "Well, Jim, you did a good job on this. I want you to run it." Dad said, "I don't know how to run a sawmill. I don't know about that." He said, "Well, I think you'll learn." He said, I got confidence and faith in you. And how about just, find you a house up here, and you and Miss Betty," he called my mama. And he said, "Take Greg and move up." We moved to Webster, Florida. And got some good friends there in Webster. Jitter Akins was the first person I ever met. And he's a friend of mine. Bud Fussell. Uncle Bud, you know how he is. He's all-American. But my dad started a sawmill in 1964, and 40-something years later, he retired, and I took over the operations of it. But there again, the whole family said it was the best thing that ever happened to us in our lives. It's moving from Tampa, Florida, all the way up to little Sumter County, and we loved every minute of it. So that's the way we moved up here and got things going. And I participated in Webster Junior High School football program, 6th grade. Couldn't play when you was in 6th grade, but you could participate with the 7th and 8th graders. And they had a pretty good team in 1968. And so I got done in junior high school. Of course, we transferred to Bushnell, to South Sumter High School. And they were the South Sumter Rebels.
Rebels, yes.
Yeah, they were Rebels. 1970, they changed the name to the Raiders. So we became the Raider Nation, if you want to call it that way. But I enjoyed my years in junior high school and football. I was just an average player, and I got to play my junior and senior year, and I loved it. I met guys on that football team that were my buds for life. I know one time we was at a football game, and Jimmy was probably, 11, 12 years old, and I walked the sideline, and I seen a guy that I played linebacker with, Steve Kearns. Now, Steve Kearns his nickname was Mad Dog, I called him. Now, this guy was the toughest player on our team.
Yeah.
So I said, well, we're going to find out. So we got out there practicing a little bit, and I grabbed a hold of him, pulled him up in the air, and slung him down on the ground. And got right in his face, and I said, "Don't ever get in my way again." He goes, "Oh, Goblay, I'll kick your ass next time I see you." Ha, ha, ha. Steve was a real man. But I challenged him, and it turned out all right because we were friends forever. And sadly, Steve passed a few years back with heart problems. But he was one of my buds. Yeah. And of course, your Uncle Bud Fussell, was the greatest athlete I ever seen at South Sumter High School. Bud could perform in any sport to top notch. He didn't even have to practice baseball. He was already practicing track when we were practicing baseball and playing. And he was our number one pitcher. And he just an awesome talent. He could do anything just naturally. Years after we left high school, he and I went and started playing just golf, after work. He could knock the ball out of sight. The one time we were playing out there, he hit a ball. He didn't see it. I didn't see it. We had no idea where it went. Right. It just dissipated in the air.
Right.
But, life, to me, going through those adolescent days, there was nothing you could tell me. I knew everything.
Yeah.
I was a smart ass, know-it-all, from 18 years old until I got married to your mother.
Yeah.
I don't claim those years. Those years were just living for the moment.
Right.
And, of course, my dad told me after high school that I would go to college. And I said, well, Dad, 12 years of school, I'm done with it. He said, you're in a position to demand nothing. You will go to college. If I have to go with you, you're going to go to college. Well, he was a lot smarter than I was. So I went to Lake Sumter Community College for 2 years, got my AA degree. He said, well, what do you want to do? You want to go to Florida? You want to go to Tallahassee? Wherever you want to go, you can go. And I said, well, Dad, what I like to do is just, work here at the sawmill for a year and decide what I want to do in life. He said, well, all right, you go ahead and work there. Well, I worked there for about a month, and I said, good Lord, it was a whole lot easier to be in them classrooms than sit out here and sweating 9 hours a day. You worked 9 hours. You didn't have time to sit over here and have a break or sit down and do. No, you worked from 7 o'clock to 12. From 12 to 12:30, it was your lunch period, but you get paid for it. You did not get paid. So 12:30 to 4:30. That's 9 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's a hard life.
Yeah.
But they were, man, the guys I worked with at the sawmill, they were real men. I mean, I had an opportunity to grow up. I started at the sawmill when I was 15 years old out of high school. Summertime, I'd have to work at the sawmill. And when it came to August, I couldn't wait for football to come out because football was a whole lot easier than working at that sawmill. I watched people, and I remember stacking lumber, and half the guys upstairs that did all the mechanical stuff as far as producing the lumber, they were stopping and over the rail looking at me and laughing at me. You know, I think that's one thing that stuck in my mind for all these years. Don't make fun of me.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
And I said, you want to make fun? I'll show you. I'll get you. I'll stack it better than anybody can stack lumber. So I worked there for a little bit, and I decided, you know what? I better go back to school. I better get an education. So I went to the University of South Florida in Tampa.
We all make bad decisions sometimes in life.
Well, you know, you make mistakes in life, but you learn from mistakes.
True.
But anyway, I graduated from South Florida, and I had a degree in fine arts and art education. That was something my advisor told me. He said, why don't you get into art because you're good at drawing and painting and stuff. But I said, well, I really was interested in physical education. I love sports.
Right.
He said, man, a PE coach is a dime a dozen. You know, you can't hardly find a job. But in the art field, you can teach from K through 12, and you make a good living, you know. So I said, oh, all right. So it was easy for me because I could draw and paint. So I said, well, I'll do that. And so I had a degree. But anyway, my whole philosophy was to go back to the sawmill, work there, know all the jobs, and then when my dad decided he was going to retire, then I would take over the mill. And that's what I did when my dad retired. He built a house. He and I went out there and he bought 11 acres of property out between Webster and Center Hill. And he built a house. What a challenge that was, because he was telling me what to do and I had to do it. And we dug footers in gumbo clay that I had to use a pick and then shovel as I went.
Right.
And him standing over there, what is your problem? You can't do this? Well, then I'll find any dumbass to do your job. I'll do it, Dad. Don't worry about it. I'll handle it. So we got his house almost done. And I was living in a trailer. I got married to your mom, and we lived in a trailer right next to the property.
Right.
And he said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, we just had William Gregory, Billy, and here comes Stacy. So I said, you know, we've only got basically a single wide trailer. I said, we're going to have to do something, add on to the trailer or something. He said, no, we'll build you a house. So we built a house out there, and that's what, since 1985, we've lived there. But,
Nice.
But I had an education, and the sawmill got to a point where we weren't producing enough lumber to keep up with the market. Georgia Pacific could outdo us any time of the month, and they shut the mill down. Well, they had a pole plant there, and it just didn't work out. The boss down there, he and I didn't see eye to eye, so he finally come in there one day and said, well, I'm going to have to let you go. So I was out of job, and we had a fire meeting that night from Webster. I belonged to the Webster Fire Department, all volunteer.
Right.
And one of the members, Rodney Pierce, he said, well, Greg, you want a job? I'll give you a job in the morning, 7 o'clock. We're building a house. So we started that project.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you know, I'm making pretty good money. You know, the company, Robbins, was paying me for 3 months. And I was working with Rodney, making cash money. So I was doing okay. But it was hard work.
Yeah.
And Mom come out one afternoon, and she said, when you get done, Rick Shirley wants to see you up at Webster Elementary School. And I said, for what? She said, I don't know. She said, whatever time you get done, he's going to be at the school waiting on you. So I pulled up there to Webster, and I walked in his office. I said, what's up, buddy? He said, you want a job? I said, doing what? He said, you can be my PE coach. The PE teacher, Pam Hicks, which I think you had her.
I had her for 2 years.
Yeah. Pam had a little baby. She lived in Wildwood, and she said, I don't want to leave the baby. I want to stay in the Wildwood area. I don't want to drive back and forth to Webster. And she said, I wanted to stay in Wildwood. So he was out with a PE coach. It was like 2 or 3 days before school started. And he said, you got the opportunity. If you want it, you want it. I said, well, I'll do it. So that's how I got in the school system. And 25 years later, I retired from the school system. Stayed at Webster for about 4 years, and then went into the facilities department of the school system, and slowly worked my way up to assistant chief, and that's what I retired as assistant chief. And but you know, it's a journey, and it's a challenge.
Yeah.
And the commitment was at the beginning to do the best you could at your job.
Right.
It wasn't until December the 28th, 2014, that my life really changed. You're familiar with it.
Yeah.
Jimmy was in the Air Force, 2014. He was out in Colorado, I believe.
Idaho.
Yep.
And I decided to come in the house, and I don't recall what happened for 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I had a massive heart attack. And I was out in my other building, I call it the dungeon, working out. I came in and I told, this is what you're telling me. I don't know. I told your mom, I said, you better get ready. We need to go to the hospital. So evidently I'd done something out there working out.
You weren't feeling good.
So I went and took a shower or a bath or whatever, and I come back out, and then I fell over in the dining room, and the rest is blank. I don't have any idea what happened. So
I've talked about it on the previous podcast with Matt Ellis, and yeah, it wasn't a good day.
That's what I heard.
Bad day. But before we get to my brother, I wanted to ask you a few questions about South Central football.
Sure.
What you thought about who was the coach when you played?
My coach was Bear Hall at first, and Dale Swain was assistant, well, basically assistant with Bear Hall. Bear Hall would just come in and out, but Dale was probably the primary coach.
Yeah.
Dale was a great person, a great leader. He knew football. He got a scholarship for Tennessee Tech, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's where it went.
And he was up there for like 4 years, maybe 5, but he got a master's degree. So a smart man, a brilliant man as far as football. He knew football.
Yeah.
He'd give us a playbook.
Yeah.
And I must have had about 30 pages of plays. And I opened the trunk of my old Fairlane 500 and I threw it in the trunk. So that's the reason why I was just an average player. I was just there to be with my buds.
Yeah.
They were friends that I grew up with in Webster.
Yeah.
Timmy Morgan, Jitter Aiken. Jitter was a hard-nosed football player. He didn't take nothing from nobody.
Right.
Jitter was tough.
Right.
I remember one game he busted his helmet on the side, cracked it open, and it cut his face wide open. Still playing out there, wiping the blood off his face, still yelling. Game was over with. We loaded him up in the car, went to the doctor's office, and old Doc Hume sewed him up on the side of his head, but Jitter never came out of the game.
Wow.
But
well, who was your what you said you played linebacker?
played outside linebacker. Steve
Outside.
Kearns was in the middle, and Steve would say, "Hey, Goblay, I want you to hit him hard on top, and I'll take his legs out."
Gonna go high-low on me.
Yeah, high-low on it, boy.
Great. That's
But,
highly illegal these days.
I told Jimmy when I seen Steve, I said, Jimmy, I want you to know this guy made me look good during the game. That's a true Bud.
Yeah.
True help. He was there for me all the time, and he made me look good.
Bud play quarterback?
Bud was quarterback. Then he became a running back. Timmy Morgan was our quarterback in my senior year. And Tim was another outstanding athlete. Tim could do anything. He was skilled in baseball and football, basketball, doesn't matter. He was good at everything. But Bud stood out. Bud was a football player, and then when it turned basketball season, he was a head basketball player. And track, he went to the state finals and high hurdles, and he was just an amazing athlete. He just naturally came to him,
right?
And he was so good. But
who'd you play? You played Wildwood?
Oh, we played Wildwood. Good God Almighty! 2 years, junior year. That's when Uncle Dennis, your uncle, Dennis was a good man.
Yeah.
And they were state champions. Wildwood was. They came down and played us. And Billy, it looked like a bunch of kindergartners out there playing us against a top-notch high school football. They ran and scored touchdowns when they wanted to.
Yeah.
They had Wayne Allen. He was just looked like Barry Sanders running out through there. Just amazing. And your Uncle Dennis was playing center, and I can remember some highlights of it. But my senior year, we went to Wildwood, and we played them a close game, but we lost. We could not beat Wildwood. Wildwood dominated football in the 70s.
Yeah.
And as hard as we tried, we just couldn't do it. And they were a very, very talented, awesome team. They were dedicated, and they were very good. Of course, they were state champions.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're going to be good if you're state champions.
Yes, you were.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following: Catfish Johnny's Restaurant, serving the Lake Pennsauken and surrounding areas since 1990. For the last 33 years, we have strived to serve great food at great prices and a friendly, casual atmosphere. If seafood isn't your thing, our burgers or wings are the best around. We have daily specials too. Check us out on Facebook or Instagram for more information. Central Screen Services LLC, in collaboration with Mask & Sons Incorporated. All screen services are available. We offer a variety of colors, durability, and sizes for all your screening needs. Pool areas, patios, and more. Call 352-603-4099 today for your free estimate. Proudly serving all of Citrus, Sumter, Hernando, Lake, and Pasco counties. To find out more, check them out on Facebook. Lions Only Landscape. Looking for landscaping or trimming done in your yard? They provide services such as landscaping, rocking, curbing, driveways, and more. Proudly serving the Villages area. Reach out to Mike Zapata or Fernando Arredondo for free quotes and more info. Duto Realty is a homegrown business with an eye for getting the job done right. From football games to Sunday school and everything in between, these ladies care about our community and the people in it. Helping buyers and sellers in all of Florida with all types of transactions, including residential, commercial, farm, or vacant land. They do it all. They even offer auction services and sellouts to always get the job done right. So what about like teams like Umatilla or Leesburg? Who'd you play? I mean, did you play against those guys?
We didn't play Leesburg. We played Umatilla. Boy, they were a powerhouse team, but we beat them. Matter of fact, what I can recall was, of all things, I got the player of the week of that game.
Okay.
They had a big running back named Chuck Muncie, I believe his name was, and they'd run a sweep, and I was on the left side of the field, and primary target was to get Muncie. And of course, he had two other running backs with him, so they kind of like a diamond formation. These two were blocking, and Chuck was running behind them. And I said, the only thing I can do is try to knock those two out and let the other guys come in and get Muncie, and that's what I did. I don't recall much of the game because I think I had a concussion. I mean, I had saw all the symptoms, There wasn't no such thing as having a concussion in 1972.
Yeah.
You just played. You lived with it. And but I can remember the next day waking up at home and just tremendous headache.
Right.
Just like a brain freeze. But I got over it. It was no big deal. And that's one thing I don't understand. Back in those, we didn't have water breaks.
Yeah.
We
Salt pills.
we had salt pills
I-
of all things that would just dehydrate you immediately. But anyway, we survived.
Yeah.
And but it was a good time. I enjoyed it, but I was really performing and just acting. I wasn't doing anything else but that because I never took anything serious back then. I just wanted to have fun.
Right.
So.
Well, we're gonna shift this over to my brother now because he played, and if you want to give us a little rundown, Jimmy, did you play? You played sports. You played some baseball growing up. We never did. Never did have We didn't have football. We
No,
didn't have Wolfpack going.
no, we didn't have the Wolfpack back then. Yeah, I played baseball up until about 11, and then dropped that and didn't play anything in middle. I played golf in middle school. I did play golf in middle school.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And then going into the summer of my freshman year, I decided I was going to play football. And, yeah, did it for 4 years. JV the first year. Then, that's the way we did it at the time. As freshmen, we're on JV. And then your sophomores through seniors.
Two different squads.
Yeah, sophomore through seniors were varsity.
Yeah. Coach Howman was your coach?
He was our JV head coach. He didn't tell me this until about 5 or 6 years after that year. He's like, God, there was no way I thought you were going to make it. He's like, I think I was last running the snake when we ran our snakes at the end of practice, and somehow it just kept going and made it through.
Yeah, I kept playing it. What's that? Your very first time you got on the field, you got 5 yards.
So that was at Mount Dora. I do have a Mount Dora story where first year playing football, first game or second game of the season, and I was on the side, and Howman goes, "Come on, get in there." So I run in there, and they go, "Hot." Ball doesn't move. I jumped off sides. Howman goes, "Come on, get out of there." So I got 5 yards on my first play.
Yeah, negative 5 yards. Negative 5 yards.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
and I never played defense after that again.
Well,
I was done on the D line.
Yeah, that's how they. That's. I was talking to Matt. He was saying how he played safety or he was a defense back or something, and he said ball's going across the field. He just laid out one of our kids. He thought it was their receiver because he closed his eyes. He laid out one of our guys, and he's like, "Oh, hey, you all right there? Oh, he's not responding. Medic." So you played your freshman year, and then your sophomore year. That was the state championship.
That was
year.
the state runner-up year.
Name some of them guys that you played with.
So in my grade, it was Ricky Velasquez, Tony Smith, Kyle Starnes. I'm going to leave some guys out, and I'm sorry. Your Highness. Yeah, I can't forget Your Highness. And then Joey Martinez, Jay Mobley.
Yeah. Jay Booty.
Yeah. Jared Fleming was on the team. Obviously, he was a senior that year.
Yep.
Carlos Everett. Kendall was a junior. And Lely. Nick Southall. Bunch of dudes. Mark Salee and Mike Dickerson.
Big Mike.
I made the mistake of getting a ride over to the parking lot with, I think it was Mike Dickerson. It was Mike and Mark. We both rode over there, and I was going to the tempo, which would only get up to 80 miles an hour. Well, I think Mike hit 80 in the parking lot and started doing donuts. And I thought I was going to die, but yeah. But those were two great dudes that really took me in with that offense line group that year and really looked out for me and helped me get there.
So, state championship game. What do you remember about that game? About playing against Chaminade?
I remember walking on the field, looking at their 3 Division I running backs and going, "Oh my God." Yeah, that was a different class of speed and athleticism.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think also coming off of what we had just done, knocking off Madison and Jacksonville Bowls in back-to-back weeks, that's very impressive. And I don't know, I could be wrong, but I don't know if we've ever done that again. If it's ever happened where we had to play both those 2 teams back-to-back and beat them. Because my senior year, we beat Bowls.
Yeah.
But then we lost to Madison.
Right.
But I think that year, in 2005, was the only time we had done it back-to-back. So those are 2 exhausting games. And then with the 3.5-hour drive to Miami.
Yeah.
They were good. They were good.
I was telling Coach Sherman, it's playing against those 2 back-to-back. It's like being in a bar fight and coming outside and there's a street fight going on.
Yeah.
You got to make your way out of that.
You've got another one waiting for you.
Yeah, just somebody there.
But that's how it is. I mean.
Yeah, exactly. So your junior year, that was like Kendall's senior year. And,
yeah.
Who else was a senior that year? I can't remember who the quarterback was.
It was Denzel.
That was Denzel. That's right.
Denzel and Travis Hutchinson.
That's right.
They kind of alternated, and then Denzel, I think, kind of took over at the end.
And then he was your
Travis
senior
just played defense, and then he was our quarterback for 3 or 4 years.
Right.
I think that was his freshman year.
What was it like playing for Coach Sherman?
Oh, I mean, he's one of the greatest coaches I've ever been around.
Yeah.
Loved every minute of it. Was around him a lot, but even more so, Coach Helms was
Coach Helms.
And still is to this day someone that I reach out to. And I know the other guys that had him will tell you the same thing. Just one of the best, not only coaches but guys. He was like a father figure to all of us out there.
Right.
Just an incredible guy. And whenever I would come back, when I was in Idaho or Colorado or wherever, after seeing you guys, first person I'd see would be Richie Helms.
Yeah.
And
you know that.
I'd like to say something about Coach Sherman. He's a friend of mine, has and always will be a faithful friend.
Yeah.
I don't remember what year it was, but when you were equipment manager, you went and played bowls in Jacksonville. I think it was Jacksonville.
I don't remember going to.
Anyway,
I don't remember 9th grade year. That was my 9th grade year.
Well, you went clear up, and you guys weren't coming home until about 2:00 in the morning. And your mom and I was worried about you because you're out there by yourself. And I said, man, I know when I get the phone call, I'm going to pull up there to the gymnasium. You're going to be out there by yourself. And I pulled up there, and there was one person standing right by you, and that was Coach Sherman. Yep. And from then on, I knew right there that man cared about not only his players, but anybody that was part of the group.
Oh, yeah.
And I never forgot that because that meant that he cared about all of his kids there. That was his kids. When you're on the field, they belong to him.
Yeah, and that's another thing I've heard other people talk about, like even Clinton and Your Highness and all them talking about how when they played for him, that if they needed a ride, he didn't hesitate, and it's like it's kind of kept going with that because we got coaches now. Coach Lawrence says that too. He's like, you need a ride home? Let me know. Somebody needs a ride. Don't let that be an excuse not to come to practice. Yeah. Or like especially during the summer months. I know they're at school and they have no choice to be there, or whatever. But if they're for summer workouts, like, well, Coach, I'm sorry, both my parents work. Let us know. We'll come pick you up.
Yep, that's the way he was.
And it just speaks his true character.
Yep.
Well, another thing is if you look at his coaching tree. Yeah. And you look at the guys that have played for him and gone on to become coaches.
Oh, yeah.
And that tells you so much there. I mean, I did it shortly, and I'm still kind of doing it. I'm doing middle school now, but there's so many of us former Raiders that are either leading programs or assisting in programs all over the place, not just in Florida. I know there's some that are at South Sumter right now, but not just there in the county, but we're branching out, and there's a lot of them everywhere. And I think that says a lot about, you want to coach when you have a guy that, you idolize as a coach. You want to be like him. And
most definitely.
Well, Coach Sherman to me is a legend. We're just people right there, but he brings more than just coaching football. It's just the leadership he has that's carried on through his players. And not to mention Jimmy and the rest of them are coaches, but you look at your Earl Everetts and you look at your Kiki Neals and Clinton Hart. Those guys are top notch. I mean, two of them had played professional ranks in the Philadelphia Eagles and San Diego Chargers. And Kiki went to the Atlanta Falcons. I'll never forget that. We went up to see him in practice. And then he went to the Cowboys. And I loved it. But he decided to come back to Tampa. And he played for the Bucks, and now he's playing for the Steelers. But a fine young man.
I mean, I think having someone like that in your life early makes you a complete different person and a better person for that.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's you look at the kids that come through now, and we don't know their home life. We don't know who's there at their house when they get home, if they have anybody. And it's just nice to have someone that cares. You know what I mean? It's just it goes a long way. It really does. But I'll tell you this, Coach Sherman he's a headstrong person. If he wants to do it this way and this way only, he's going to do it. He doesn't let anybody. Now he does ask for people, their opinions and stuff. But if he comes up with an idea, he's going to fix it. If it blows up in his face, he's going to tweak it. He's going to fix it. And it's the character. It's his true characteristic about it. He's not going to let something little like that deter him or second guess what his opinion or his decision is made. He's just that type of person.
Well, look at the legacy he left there at the football program. I mean, it's Coach Sherman, and then now he carries on to Ty Lawrence and the rest. They all. That's the important thing. He had a good group of people around him, and it made him look good too. And Stan Colbert, Stan's a buddy of mine. I mean, he's a Cowboy fan too, but it's just the personality of the people, and that's a winning team to me.
Right. Well, having like Jimmy said, having that close knit group, and they've been there so long together.
Right.
Because you think about it, Ty, Stan, Keith, who else? Well, even Earl. Earl's been back long enough, and Drew Noe.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all together. I mean, they've been together. They played together for the last 20 years. Coached or played together for 20 years. Yeah. And that just makes your team better. Because
absolutely.
You don't have some guy, like Clint Hart said, there's a guy, Ocala Trinity Catholic, and he was an outsider. And people didn't really trust him because he was outside. You come from somewhere else and you come here and you go, we're going to completely change everything. And they're like, wait a minute. That's not how we do things around here. But sometimes, that change is good. Coach Sherman made a few changes and it ended up being very good. But it took him a while to get, like he said, we talked about how he tweaked things. And the next year he'd go, okay. And they'd have that board up, All right, look, this is what we had last year. How can we get better? And every year, it's just, how do you get better?
Yeah.
And that still continues. We're finding ways now to, like, say when Jimmy played, they didn't have huddle.
Yeah.
They didn't have, when you wanted to highlight film, you had to make your own or have somebody do it for you. That was in technology class or video productions. And then, like Matt said, you had to mail a VHS.
Yeah.
With a cover sheet with all your stats. So, I mean, it's changed quite a bit, and it's going to continue to change. I don't know what it's going to look like in the next 10 years itself. But I think one thing remains at South Sumter is it's just that tradition. And
Honor.
And we always say tradition never graduates.
That's right.
I love that saying.
Yeah.
So, Jimmy, going back to you about after what we said about Coach Sherman, I was talking about his character and stuff like that, but also he's the kind of person that you don't really want to let down either. You know what I mean? Like you said, like a father figure.
Yeah.
And I feel Ty's the same way now. For one thing, you don't want to make Ty Lawrence mad. And I always seem to find a way to do it. I don't know how, but he always gets so. He says he's not mad, but I think he's mad. And I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna kill me. There was one game last year where it poured. We were at South Lake, and the camera battery, we always plug it in so you have constant battery. It got soaked, so I guess it fried the circuit, and this camera battery only lasted the first quarter. I left. I wasn't sticking around to tell Ty that the camera battery died. So, but anyways, going back to what you were doing, your senior year was a pretty cool year.
Yeah, talking about not wanting to let Coach Sherman down. We had a pep rally before our USIS game. I think it was our second game of the year. Might have been the first. I don't know.
Right.
But we come out and we think we're all that. We're in the gymnasium running around, jumping up and down, and you just see Coach Sherman in the corner just looking at us, and we're just going nuts, going crazy. He doesn't say anything about it. We go out and we lose that game. And we lost it at home, obviously, pep rally. And he's like, never again. Pep rallies, you're going to walk out, no jumping, no running, no jogging. You're going to walk out to the middle, say Raiders on 3, and you're going to go sit down and shut up. And we did the rest of the year, but I never forgot that because, it's even something that I've told that story several times to my guys in Enid is, don't use all of your energy before a game. Like, don't go nuts.
Right.
You still got to play 4 quarters.
Right.
But yeah, that was a bad day. Bad day. One of probably the worst loss. I know we had some losses in the playoffs that obviously, but that one was like the biggest upsetting loss because we shouldn't have. Yeah. We shouldn't have lost that game.
I was going to tell you the worst loss that I've ever been a part of was a couple years ago, probably 5-6 years ago, when Avon Park came to our place, and it was 42-0 with 6 minutes to go in the second quarter. And then the whole grid went out. Like, they thought we blew the power. But the entire Bushnell went black. There was not a light on for miles. You couldn't see anything. It was so and I'm upstairs, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, let me run down there." And I remember Keith Howman saying, "Well, if you don't believe in the power of prayer, you do now." It would have been a freaking bloodbath. But Avon Park was pissed because they had to. I'm like, "Why are you mad? You get to go home early and you get a win."
Yeah.
So I mean that's a W, and you get to go home early. That's a long bus ride home. But Dad, did you ever get blown out like that?
No, we never had a bad game. Now the Wildwood game. Now when they were state champions, I recall. I don't remember the team they played, but I think they still hold the state record for the most points scored. It was 90-something to nothing.
It was like Naples or something, like Westport.
I don't recall where they.
Westport, no. Fort Myers, I think it was.
I mean, they had a powerhouse team, just unbelievable, and they were state champions. I mean,
yeah.
That was it.
I don't know. There's nothing. When you have a loss like that, you're just like at the end, you're like, what do you say? I mean, but that year we were. I've never seen them we didn't win a game. Yeah. And I've never seen that at South Central. Yeah. That was a bad year. You talk about a bad day, that was a bad year.
Yeah.
So your senior year, let me just ask you. People always ask us why we talk about bowls so much.
Yeah.
But they don't understand because when you beat Bowles, it's like that's a championship right there.
Yeah.
When you beat Bowles, that's a national that's a state championship right there. Regardless of how far you get, if you can beat Bowles,
yeah, it's pretty special. I know our class beat them twice,
and that's
which
never, has that ever been done before?
I don't know. I don't think
Your
so.
Your Highness isn't here to check the stats. That
No.
guy's a stat guy, man.
Well, Your Highness knows, and I know, but I won't say it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
But I will say this: I've 44-6 was our class.
Yeah.
We lost 6 games.
Yeah.
And now I might be wrong, but I'm pretty positive it's 44-6. That's what I've gone with for the last few years.
Right.
But we were 10-1 the first year.
Uh-huh.
Then the state tournament team went 12-2.
Yeah.
Then we were 11-2. Yeah. And then 12-2 my senior year, so 7. 44-7.
Yeah.
I can't math. But I think, and maybe Your Highness can double check this, but I think that is the best 4-year span of a record in South Central history.
Right.
Which wasn't because of me, but
they need a quick guard. Come on.
Yeah. We need a guy to just go and dive at someone.
Kick out block every now and then.
But you did your job.
I tore a kid's ACL, I'm pretty sure.
Well,
it's Nature Coast.
Yeah.
First play of the game, cut him.
Speaking of that Nature Coast game, that was oh my God, dude.
That's definitely one that stands out.
Yeah.
At least from my 4 years.
I think that's
game.
the only overtime game I've ever been a part of. Thanks for watching part 1 of this 2-part segment. Stay tuned for part 2.